ICT has also been where I've been since my college days. And speaking here before you is a privilege for me, because what I will be doing is sharing the PLDT group's initiatives on ICT. So this is not going to be a product presentation, but this is really the way PLDT group is helping enable a digital Philippines, pursuant to what Senator Aquino and Senator Angara are advocating in the Senate. Now, first of all, I think this is something we've been aspiring for. When we look at benchmark countries in the Asian region for the past decades or maybe a generation, we've been really looking at South Korea, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Singapore as models of where we want to be. Now, the question before us today is, the Philippines, are we indeed the next Asian tiger? Looking at, well, many of you may be familiar with the stock exchange, and since 2010, we can see that it has been a very good time to be in stocks. There have been volatility, but since February of 2010, where we had index at 3,000, yesterday it ended at 7,500. And while the stock market may not be the only barometer for economic progress, it is an indication of investor confidence. In fact, in 2015, the World Bank as well as Fitch Ratings solidified this claim for the country. Moving on, there have been other international institutions that have recognized how the government, how the private sector, how the country has progressed, and all indicators are pointing up. The question now is this sustainable? The World Economic Forum, which has been one of the benchmarks globally in looking at the competitiveness of a country, has revealed that the Philippines is 52 out of 144 countries in terms of global competitiveness. Now, many pillars factor into this, but highlighted in red are what ICT enabled. And it is very fitting and it is very timely that the DICT will be created, because this will put more focus and more resources into the enablement of the country in ICT to sustain our economic progress. Another index, this one is from the Fletcher School in the US. It tracks the digital evolution of different countries. And I'm sorry, at the back you may not see it, but the Philippines is classified as a breakout country. When we say we are a breakout country, it means that the market has a lot of potential, but it needs a lot of development. And I think in two lines, that's really what describes where we are now. This Digital Evolution Index, in fact, is followed by leaders of IT across the world. Bill Gates, in fact, commented it on his Twitter account. Now, what is PLDT doing to help us migrate or improve from being a breakout country to a standout country? Over the last 10 years, I think you've seen a lot of this about investments in network. In fact, to enable our BPO industry, which is a strong driver of our economy, we have expanded globally. The leap from 4G to 5G is being explored, and in hearings with Senator Aquino, there has also been a commitment by PLDT through our legal office to cover the entire country on at least 3G by the end of the year. Now, beyond that, we're looking at smart as providing higher-end solutions. The inclusivity that was mentioned by Senator Aquino yesterday is all about financial inclusivity. It means that those who are unbanked need to be banked. And through our wireless services, this is how we enable the country. Equally critical would be data centers. Now, I think one thing we need to realize as well is that the speed of access to the internet is a factor of two things. One, network itself, but two, it's also where the content is hosted. So the good thing about building new data centers and inviting content providers into the country is that content becomes faster. In fact, as we speak, Google, Akamai, Facebook, Cloudflare, and a lot of the bigger CDNs and content providers across the globe are setting up their own POPs in the Philippines. We should experience a better internet experience with these localized POPs. Yesterday, the theme was about cloud, and cloud in advanced countries is really about having the variety. It's really about having a multi-cloud environment so that you can manage disaster recovery and manage risk. In that vein, PLDT has partnered with the global names in cloud in order to ensure that the country is well set up for a cloud environment. But beyond cloud, and I think this is really the buzz nowadays, we're talking of big data. PLDT recently launched its own big data service, and we see this not only as a way for companies to drive their own businesses, but especially for government to help understand better our constituents and to help target our messaging toward our different constituents. The membership of PLDT in the Open Data Platform, it's a global consortium, helped put the country in the map for big data. Our vision is to do for analytics what the country has done for BPO. If we remember, and as Senator Angara had mentioned, BPO was a footnote maybe 20 years ago, but now it's like 1 million. We hope to take that next step, help the country take that next step, so that analytics and the expertise in analytics will also be built in the country, creating an Asian Center of Excellence on analytics. And well, lastly, since needs have changed, since the environment has changed, it's not really about being an telco. PLDT's new vision is to be a digital enabler, not only for consumers or enterprises, but most especially for the country. The question we have today, I guess, is we have the building blocks ready. Together with our colleagues in the industry, such as Globe, we have set up the network. We have tried to expand as fast as we can. We have done our investments. Now, how do we develop into a real digital economy? According to a study done by Euromonitor, they tracked internet users over a 20-year period. In 1995, only 1% of the globe had internet access. In 2014, that has risen 40-fold to 39%. And the distribution of internet users has exploded as well. If in 1995, 61% of them were from the US, you will notice that Asia, China, and the rest of the world have now eclipsed the US combined. Harking back to the Digital Evolution Index, the 3 billion internet users globally at present is a significant amount, but one thing we have to see as a potential is that 1/10 of that are from the ASEAN region, which is very good for us in the context of ABC. In fact, if we look at we do a lot of meetings with Facebook, and for such a small country, we are very, very socially active. In fact, the latest stats show that we are number 7 in Facebook traffic globally. Think about that in context. China has 1 billion. The US has 250 million in population. We have roughly 100 million. And yet, we are 7th in Facebook traffic. But when we talk of the digital economy, as Senator Angara had mentioned, it's not about Facebook posts. It's It's not about watching YouTube. What really impacts the GDP of an economy is the digital economy. And if we look at some examples globally, for digital commerce, you have Zalora, which I'm sure many of you use. Square, which is a mobile processing payment gateway. Criteria, and you know Spotify as well. The challenge is increasing usage and having greater inclusivity for usage of this type. Not the Facebooks and not the video streaming or peering. Now, the critical component to understanding the digital economy is to look first at the digital consumer and how our own habits have changed. I think we all can relate to this slide. Before, it was all about calling and texting in our Motorola phones and maybe our Nokia, very reliable by the way, Nokia dot matrix phones. Then, we looked at mobile internet and browsing, and the advent of apps really exploded bandwidth, but now we are looking at Internet of Everything. When we say Internet of Everything, we mean having connected devices not only through our mobile phones. For example, in Japan, it's really about seeing your refrigerator from your mobile phone and having the refrigerator monitor its temperature to have better electricity consumption. And this is where advanced economies are. The question is, where are we? This chart may not be seen at the back, but it just shows the per capita retail spending on the internet, how much citizens actually use it. Singapore is at $16, the Philippines is almost at $1. And we feel that this is the type of traffic that we need to encourage. And PLDT has, that's why we purchased the Rocket Internet to help localize traffic and to help spur digital commerce in the country. Through Voyager and Tap This, we are trying to spur e-commerce. Next, even in media, consuming media, I'm sure you know, you've seen your kids nowadays. There's less viewing on television, and probably more viewing on what we call vertical viewing. Television is now called horizontal viewing. Mobile phone viewing is now called vertical viewing. And that's the type of usage pattern that we are seeing in advanced economies. Increasingly, I think we know that from our kids, this is how they behave nowadays. And because of that, we have launched many of our content services that allow for vertical viewing, that give information access to more of our constituents, more of our consumers, to ensure that they are updated with the internet. And now, because the consumer has changed, enterprises, including government, our own services, the way we deliver these to our consumers, must evolve as well. From being web-connected to being digitally transformed. And part of that is really big data, where we do have a breakout this afternoon that will discuss that in detail. So in reaching your constituents, there are really three main focuses, and this is where PLDT is trying to develop its capabilities to help government reach its constituents. So first of all, I think you know about smart ads. We saw, how many of you, maybe a number of you have seen the HBO movie where in New York, the central system of the city government can actually send a picture of a criminal on the loose to all cell phones within the city. Of course, this requires opt-in, but this is a very big initiative that helps in public safety. That's just one of the examples. Next, we have a program called Safe Zone. The challenge with the internet really is that although we do have unlimited internet packages among the telcos, internet access is somewhat guarded. So with Safe Zone, companies like BPI, BDO, PAL allow clients to access their website without consuming their data plan. So it enables, it encourages e-commerce usage. And last, through TackThis, which is an online marketplace in which we can run for companies and the government, including creating the website and managing it for you or for them, we somehow lower the barrier to entry in creating a website, because the difficulty about the website is not setting it up, but it's managing it later on, updating the content, and making sure that it's relevant to the market. Now, to end my presentation, I just wanted to recap where we are and where we want to go for the Philippines. So, this is much publicized. PLDT has invested in a lot of the enabling networks, and we will continue to do so. The commitment is to support the DICT, as well as the ICTO office in providing the free Wi-Fi across the country. We will continue to invest in digital infrastructure. We will continue to invite content providers so that as we increase network capacity, we also localize traffic, making the internet experience much better. Hopefully in the next ranking of Ookla, we won't be 176th anymore. And although physical infrastructure is important, I think one talent of the Filipino that needs to be harnessed even more would be our innovation and our expertise, our ideas, our creativity. That's why within the PLDT group, we have companies like Idea Space, we have an innovation laboratory, we have a company called Voyager that will help spur innovation and raise our ranking in the Global Competitiveness Index. Now, these are all the partnerships we have, the strategic alliances that hope to bring inclusivity to the Philippines, to help more of our countrymen to be part of the ICT, to enjoy the benefits of ICT. And it is with these alliances that we see the country moving forward into a standout country from its breakout status at the moment. With ASEAN integration, the idea is that why do Philippine companies still have this concept that ASEAN integration is about innovation into our country? I think the shift in paradigm should be, we should think about the opportunity of expanding outward. And it's the same mentality that the PLDT group is doing for the country. In fact, as we become a bigger and bigger hub for multinational companies, expansion globally for these companies become even more important to spur the local economy. So, this is how I end my slide. PLDT's commitment to the country is to be the network of everything, to ensure that the country continues to increase its global competitiveness, both in the Digital Evolution Index, from breakout to standout, as well as in the World Economic Forum, GCI. And we will continue to work with the DICT, the DOST, and all government agencies to make this happen. Thank you very much.
Tutok na sa Wazzup Pilipinas, ibutin ang mundo, kainin ang gusto, alamin ang tamang daan kung paano ang umaseso. Kasama ang buong tropa ng Wazzup Pilipinas, aming ibibigay sa madla at ipapadanas ang saya ng Wazzup Pilipinas. Tutok na sa Wazzup Pilipinas, ang saya dito sa Pilipinas, ihahatid sa inyo ng Wazzup Pilipinas.